Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most mysterious creatures in all of folklore, the sea monster, the ocean. It covers more than 70% of our planet's surface, yet over 80% of it remains unexplored, unmapped, and unseen by human eyes. It is a realm of crushing pressure, eternal darkness, and temperatures just above freezing, a world more alien than the moon. For millennia, we have huddled on the shores, staring out at the vast, churning blue, and wondered what lies beneath. Our ancestors told stories. They whispered legends of colossal beasts rising from the depths, of serpentine necks and city-swallowing tentacles. They called them leviathans, krakens, hydras. To them, these weren't just stories. They were warnings. Warnings of a world that did not belong to man. Today, science has given us names for many of the ocean's giants. The blue whale, the colossal squid, the great white shark. You've explained away the mermaids as manatees and the sea dragons as oarfish. But what if I told you that some legends refuse to die? That there are accounts, both ancient and modern, of creatures so strange, so massive, that they defy our neat classifications. These are the phantoms of the deep, the anomalies that haunt the blurry line between myth and reality. These are the sea monsters that scientists still can't fully explain. So grab your life vest, because we're sailing into uncharted waters to investigate 6 of the most enigmatic creatures ever reported. Number 6. The Stronsay beast. Our journey begins not in some ancient, dusty text, but with a very real, very dead body that washed ashore in the Orkney Islands of Scotland in 1808. After a violent storm, the carcass of a massive creature was found on the island of Stronsay. It was described by witnesses as being 55 feet long, though part of its tail was missing. It had a long, slender neck, a small head that some compared to a sheep's, and a bristly mane running down its back. It possessed 3 pairs of leg-like fins or paws. The locals were baffled. It looked like nothing they had ever seen. The creature's remains were examined by the naturalist Patrick Neal and anatomist Sir Everard Home of the Royal Society. They couldn't agree. Neal believed it was a new species, a type of sea serpent, and gave it the scientific name Halcedrus pontopidani*, or seawater snake of Pontoppidan, in honor of the Norwegian bishop who wrote extensively about sea serpents. However, Sir Everard Home, a more established and influential scientist, examined some of the vertebrae and declared it was simply the decaying remains of a basking shark. Case closed. Not quite. The basking shark theory has problems. Basking sharks can reach lengths of around 30 to 40 feet, significantly shorter than the 55-foot measurement of the Stronsay carcass. Furthermore, the descriptions of a bristly mane and multiple pairs of flippers don't align well with a decomposing shark, whose cartilaginous skeleton often creates strange shapes as it rots. Skeptics argue that eyewitness measurements are often unreliable and that the mane could have been frayed collagen tissue. Yet, the initial sketches and detailed descriptions from 1808 persist, leaving a nagging question. Was the Stronsay beast a truly unique animal, a living plesiosaur-like creature, whose only known specimen was dismissed and lost to science forever? Number 5. Luska****. Let's travel from the cold waters of Scotland to the warm, turquoise depths of the Caribbean. Here, lurking in the ominous, deep blue holes that pepper the sea floor, legend speaks of the Luska. This is not your typical sea serpent. Folklore describes a horrifying chimera, part shark, part octopus. A creature with the razor-sharp teeth and predatory nature of a shark, but with the terrifying, grasping tentacles of a colossal cephalopod. Legends claim the Luska can change color to camouflage itself, and that it creates powerful whirlpools to drag fishermen and even entire boats down into its underwater lair. To a scientist, this sounds like pure fantasy. An octopus and a shark are from wildly different branches of the evolutionary tree. A hybrid is biologically impossible. The logical explanation is that sailors were witnessing 2 separate animals in the same place, perhaps a giant octopus attacking a large fish or shark. The ocean's blue holes are known to be teeming with life, and it's a perfect hunting ground. So the Luska is likely just a conflation of known animals. But what if the legend isn't about a hybrid, but about a single, terrifyingly large species of octopus? In 1896, a massive, rubbery carcass washed ashore in St. Augustine, Florida. It was dubbed the St. Augustine monster. Initially thought to be a giant octopus, it was later dismissed by many as the blubber from a dead whale. However, decades later, in the 1970s, samples of the tissue that had been preserved were re-examined. The conclusion? The tissue's connective collagen was biochemically different from that of a whale, and was much more consistent with that of a massive invertebrate, like a giant squid or octopus. Could the tailies of the Luska be inspired by a real, as yet undiscovered species of gigantic octopus that dwells in the dark blue holes of the Caribbean? Number 4. The Cadborosaurus** off the Pacific coast of North America, from Alaska down to California. Mariners have for centuries reported a creature known as the Cadborosaurus, or caddy for short. Eyewitness accounts are remarkably consistent. They describe a creature between 40 and 70 feet long, with a horse-like or camel-like head on a long, serpentine neck, a humped back, and a powerful fluked tail. Indigenous peoples of the region have stories of the creature going back generations. Over the years, there have been hundreds of sightings, but the most compelling evidence came in 1937. Whalers at Naden Harbor in British Columbia discovered a strange, 10-foot-long creature inside the stomach of a sperm whale. A photograph was taken before the carcass was, unfortunately, discarded. The photo shows what appears to be a long-necked animal with a distinct, mammalian-looking head, a bristly mane, and fins. The foreman of the whaling station, James Wakely, described it as having a head like a horse with features resembling a camel. Skeptics have proposed various explanations for catty sightings: a line of sea lions swimming together, giant oarfish, or even frill sharks. But none of these fully match the detailed descriptions, especially the head and neck. In 2011, a study of the 1937 photo concluded the creature was not a known species and was likely a juvenile of the animal reported in sightings. But without a body, without a type specimen, the Cadborosaurus remains a cryptid, a tantalizing ghost in a photograph whose existence is supported by hundreds of eyewitnesses but remains just beyond the grasp of science. Number 3. The Leviathan. Unlike our other examples, the Leviathan comes to us not from eyewitness reports, but from one of the oldest and most influential texts in human history, the Bible. In the book of Job, the Leviathan is described in terrifying detail. It is a colossal sea creature, impervious to human weapons. Its back has rows of shields tightly sealed together. A sword that reaches it has no effect, nor does a spear or a dart or a javelin. It makes the depths churn like a boiling cauldron. It leaves a glistening wake behind it. One would think the deep had white hair. For centuries, the Leviathan was considered pure allegory, a symbol of God's immense power and the untamable chaos of nature. But could this powerful myth have been inspired by a real animal? Some scholars suggest the descriptions could be a poetic take on the Nile crocodile, especially its armored scales. Others point to large whales. The glistening wake is a perfect description of a whale's fluke disturbing the water. But there's a more fascinating theory. What if the ancient peoples who wrote these texts had encountered something else? Something prehistoric. Fossil evidence shows that the ancient oceans were home to incredible marine reptiles like the Mosasaurus, a 60-foot-long aquatic lizard that was the apex predator of its time. All these creatures are thought to have died out with the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. Could a remnant population have survived into early human history, their terrifying appearance seared into our collective memory and immortalized as the Leviathan? It's a huge leap, but ancient texts describe an animal of such power and unique features that it makes you wonder if they were describing something more than just a big crocodile or whale. Number 2. Megalodon asterisk. Here we have a monster we know was real. Otodus megalodon asterisk was an apex predator that ruled the oceans for over 20 million years. It was a shark that could reach lengths of 60, maybe even 70 feet, with a bite force powerful enough to crush a car. Its jaws were lined with 276 serrated teeth, each the size of a human hand. It hunted whales. It was, without question, the most powerful predator in the history of our planet. But science is clear. Megalodon went extinct about 3.6 million years ago. Or did it? This is where the line gets blurry. Believers in its survival point to a few pieces of intriguing, though highly contested, evidence. In 1875, the HMS Challenger dredged up 2 megalodon teeth from the deep Pacific that were dated by some to be only 11,000 to 24,000 years old. This dating method has since been heavily criticized, with most scientists agreeing the manganese coating used for dating can form at variable rates, making the teeth much older. Then there are the anecdotal sightings. Fishermen from Australia to Mexico have claimed to see monstrously large sharks that dwarf even the biggest great whites. In the 1960s, an Australian fisherman named Dick Zane and his crew claimed a shark of unbelievable size, at least 80 feet, swam past their boat, so massive it made the water boil. Scientists remain steadfastly skeptical. A breeding population of animals that large would leave evidence: carcasses, bite marks on whales, and more modern teeth. The deep ocean, where they would have to live to avoid us, is also cold and nutrient-poor, a difficult environment for such a massive warm-water predator. Still, the thought persists. In an ocean so vast and unexplored, could a small population of these giants be holding on in the abyss? Number 1. The Kraken asterisk. We end with the king of all sea monsters. The Kraken. Born of Norse legend, it was said to haunt the seas between Norway and Greenland. This wasn't just a large animal, it was a living island. Sailors would mistake its massive back for land, drop anchor, and be dragged to their doom when the beast submerged. Its tentacles were said to be long enough to pull the tallest mast of a warship down to the waves. For centuries, the Kraken was the ultimate sailor's nightmare, a symbol of the ocean's terrifying power. For a long time, science dismissed this as pure fantasy. But then, in the 19th century, evidence began to surface. Giant tentacles washed ashore, whole carcasses were found. Science had discovered the Architeuthis ducks, the giant squid. And later, the even more massive and aggressive Mesonychthys hamiltoni, the colossal squid. These are real-life krakens. They live in the crushing depths, have eyes the size of dinner plates, and can reach lengths of 40 to 50 feet. They are known to battle sperm whales in the dark, leaving behind massive sucker cup scars on the whale's skin. Suddenly, the myth wasn't a myth anymore. It was an exaggeration. The sailors who saw a massive tentacle rise from the water weren't lying. They were just seeing a part of a real animal they couldn't possibly comprehend. But here is the final, chilling question. We have only ever studied a handful of giant and colossal squid specimens. Most of what we know comes from dead or dying animals that have floated to the surface. We have almost no idea what their maximum size is. Could there be older, larger individuals lurking in the abyss? A 60-foot squid, an 80-foot squid, a creature large enough to be mistaken for an island. Science proved the core of the Kraken legend was real. Only thing we don't know is if we've found the biggest one yet. So, from a mysterious carcass in Scotland to a biblical behemoth, the legends of sea monsters continue to fascinate and terrify us. They represent the unknown, the great wilderness that still exists on our own planet. While science can explain many of them as misidentification or the echoes of real, but less monstrous, animals, some stories persist, held up by intriguing evidence that we can't quite dismiss. They remind us that for all our technology, the deep ocean still holds its secrets close. What do you think? Are these creatures pure myth? Or could some of them be relics of a forgotten world, still swimming in the dark below? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe my YouTube channel for more interesting videos.